Okay, since we understood the model of computation, now let's move on to the some simple analysis, right? So the title of this video is time and space complexity of an insertion sort algorithm. So we are going to begin with a time complexity of an insertion sort algorithm. So here is the pseudocode, and this pseudocode contains total 8 lines of code. Let's assume the input array of this function is A, and the array A has length, A dot length, right? So A dot length, right? So I'm just assuming A dot length is equal to n here. So n represents the total number of elements or the length of an array here. Instead of writing A dot length every time, we will assume A dot length as equal to n here. So here n can be anything. It could be 10, or it could be 100, or it could be 1000 or 10,000, right? Or any positive number. Now let's go and analyze the outer for loop first, right? So at the first line, right, we have a for loop, and this loop start from j is equal to 2 to a dot length. A dot length means it's n here, right? Now can you tell me how many times this particular statement is getting executed? So if you look at this statement, j takes the values of 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on, right, till n here. But after j is equal to n, it will also go and check the condition, right? So every time the value of j will increment it by 1, right? Now this statement will get executed till n plus 1. So at which this particular point the loop condition fails and we exit the loop. Now from this, how many times this loop condition checked here, this condition checked? So can I say that it's n here, because we are starting it from 2, 3 till n plus 1, right? So total we have 1, 2, 3 till n, right? So it is checking n times. So therefore the line number 1 execute n times here. Now what about line number 2 here? Line number 2. Now consider the lines inside the loop, right? So these are the lines present inside the loop, but outside the while loop. So these lines execute only when we actually entered into the while loop, entered into the loop. Since the loop runs for 2, 3, 4, because the value of j is equal to 2, 2 and so on till n, right? That means, can I say that this will run it for n minus 1 times? Yes, this statement will get executed for n minus 1 times. And what about line 3? Again, this statement will also execute it for n minus 1, since this statement is present inside the for loop. And statement 4 is also getting executed for n minus 1. And just leave about the while loop here. These 3 statements I'm not going to consider now. We will handle this while loop separately. Now what about the last statement? Even this statement is also part of a for loop. I would say that this statement will also execute it for n minus 1, right? Now the next important thing here is, if you remember the model of computation, the processor execute the instructions, right? So I have a processor execute the instruction, and RAM will store the data. RAM stores the data. So each instruction takes some amount of time, and also different instructions take the different amount of time. Let's assume the line 1 takes C1 microseconds, right? And we know about the microsecond, right? 1 microsecond is equal to 10 power minus 6 seconds. So assume that the line 1 takes C1 microseconds, line 2 takes C2 microseconds. As I mentioned, each instruction takes some amount of time, not the same amount of time, right? So that's why I'm just differentiating line 1 with the line 2, because it has a different set of instructions. And let's say line 3 takes C3 amount of time, C3 microseconds, and line 4 takes C4 microseconds. And just forget about the while loop as of now, and line 8 takes C8 amount of time, right? And if you compute the total time for the instructions what I executed so far, can I say that the time will be n1 into c1 for the first one, because each statement or each instruction takes c1 amount of time, but how many times I am running this particular statement or this instruction, it is taking n times, so I would say that n into c1, right? And what about the second statement? It will take n minus 1 into c1. This is my total cost, right? And for line 3 it will take n minus 1 into c3, sorry, this is c2, right? And for line 3 it will take n minus 1 into c4. For line 8 it will take n minus 1 into c8. So this is the total cost for that instructions what we have executed so far. Now in the next video we'll understand how to find the time complexity of the entire code along with the while loop.